Here, and as I promised to you, I wanted to go live to answer some of your questions. I'm still on my 22-day challenge of selling artworks worth of 222,000 euros in 22 days. So I'm still on my journey. I'm get closer to my goal of achieving these sales, and I'm still working on it. And I've asked you what kind of questions you are having for me, and let me have a look here quickly. Okay, the first one was, what are your favorite colors to use? And as I can't really know if it's about the colors or the actual paint that I'm using, so usually I love pastel kind of colors. So it's kind of, if it's like this pinky-ish, yellowish, I really love this. Like here as well, so many astronauts. I think you can't have enough astronauts. So I love to use kind of pastels, some softer colors, but I also love to use like bluish tones. I'm not a big fan of brownish green color. I don't really have a connection to this. I also love to use black Sharpies or white Sharpies, which kind of gives kind of a contrast that I really like. And yeah, so that was the first question. Let's have a look. What are your favorite materials? So I really like to experiment with different materials. So I'm not using only like primed canvas. I also love to work, or especially love to work with more raw materials. It's materials that you can find in a hardware shop, for example, so that are not, maybe they haven't been built or produced for being used as art, more like for daily life or for different other topics. So I love to experiment with this. I mean, I love to use aluminum or steel plates that have kind of this reflective look, and also with how they're being treated, they have kind of like a nice coating, nice topping, and it really plays well for me with the like my scribbles and the colors. So it's kind of gives me some joy to work with this. I mean, I also used some, here you can see it, some mirrors that I also really like. They are tinted in a special glass, so they're like really fun to play with, but also this material is kind of limiting me because you can't do too much. If you're putting like, for example, too much paint on it, you don't see it anymore. So it's kind of, I have to kind of like, how can I say, I have to kind of limit myself a bit. But these are kind of the materials that I'm using at the moment the most. It's aluminum, steel, raw canvas. This is what I love to use for kind of the stuff that you can hang on the walls. I mean, I also love to use other materials for building these astronauts. For example, let me grab it. It's been made out of a special space material, so it's super lightweight. This one is also not done yet, but it's close, getting there. And I tried some stuff, and you can see here that it's kind of, that the color is kind of, was also melting during the process, which gives it a very interesting look and a very interesting kind of patina, which you can't really regulate. It just happened with the step that I did. So I'm always very process orientated, so I'm trying out new things, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't work, but this is how I love to evolve with my art. It's like always taking the next step, see how it feels, and then how I can work around. I mean, I have also a lot of artworks where I have spelling mistakes. And at the beginning I was like a bit shy with the spelling mistakes, but I had one, I think it was like my first artwork where I had a spelling mistake. I was writing paradise, and it was like 3 times paradise, 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 or 4 times even. And on the third row, I didn't write paradise, it was paradise. And I just recognized it afterward that I said, oh, this word looks a bit different to the others. And then I realized, oh, I made a spelling mistake, but I left it like this. So it was kind of, you had to also see it twice, and you maybe didn't even recognize it on the first look. And in the end, the collectors, they're from America, they took it because they said, yeah, it's very inspiring for us because they're producing music, and sometimes when a recording is not good enough, they're kind of deleting it. And they want to also remind themselves that even if it's not a perfect recording, just keep it and go with the flow. You never know what can kind of be the outcome for this. And I really, really loved this approach. And I also learned with this that also spelling mistakes have a place to be. And sometimes I'm also like in a mood of writing very quickly, or I have an idea and I want to write it down, and then I'm making these mistakes. And yeah, I sometimes you can also see my thought process with this. I had an artwork where I said, my dreams are and then it was like my goals, and then it was not goals, and then I was looking for words and I always wrote it down, crossed it out, and then in the end it was like, my dreams are my mission. I think it was something like this. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed this, and also the collectors loved this because you can also see, maybe it also translates kind of the energy that I'm having when creating these artworks. So yeah, sorry, I have to take a small sip. It's very hot today, so that's why I'm a bit oily and sweaty. So yeah, what other questions did you have for me? Somebody asked, what is my favorite artwork? And this is a question I'm getting quite often, and it's really, really hard for me to tell. I love all my artworks. Of course, some I love more than the others, but usually all the artworks that I'm also showing online are ones that I really, really love. And also I think I have some artworks that are really, really deeply connected with the whole creative process, and one is obviously Machen ist vorne. It's kind of a big artwork where I use technofoil. I have an LED planet that you can light up, and it was like the first artwork where I did more or less everything by myself. The framing, I used this technofoil as a material for the first time, so this was really kind of in the end it was kind of a milestone, because it was like really an artwork that showed me that I should trust in my abilities, and that I can that I should also work with different materials, because it gives just like it just gives a lot of uniqueness to the artworks, and this is also what I quite enjoy. And another one is like my first astronaut, my first floating astronaut. It's kind of the same exhibition, and it was like the first time, not the first time that I did a sculpture, but it was like the first time that I did an astronaut that was a bit larger and that was hanging in this exhibition place. And yeah, it was really interesting to see how it interacts with the environment, because as soon as people were passing by, it started to move a bit, so it was never like just floating there, it was always like floating around, and I really, really loved this. And also we hung it quite low, so the people could, if they could reach, they could touch it, so they were not sure, can I touch it or not. And I really love to have this tension where the viewer is kind of invited, or is kind of maybe also teased to touch it or not, and I was always very open about this, that the people can touch it and give it also a small push, because I think that's what art is for me. It shouldn't be just like a sterile kind of thing. It should be something that is playful and that you can play around and enjoy with. Yeah. So this is my first astronaut. Do I have any other artworks? I mean, one thing that I recognize also regarding the materials is that for me it's easier to build something from zero and then kind of build it up. This is how kind of my brain works, so I can see material and then form something out of it. But I also tried this. Maybe it's also just a matter of exercising and practicing, but I can't, for example, just take a wooden block and then just sculpt something out of this kind of subtracting, taking it away. It's not working for me. For me, it's more like I have a core and then I'm building up things. I'm seeing, for example, with these astronauts, how big should the arms be, the legs be, and kind of the dimensions. And this is how it kind of like connects in my brain, and then I can come up with things like these, where I'm kind of happy, like strong arms, a bit like me. Oh. Backpack, front pack, yeah. And I mean, what I also love to do is to play around and to be kind of as abstract as possible, so you don't see like a really helmet or like the glass or shading from the helmet, or you don't see any glass. It's just in a very abstract form, but you can still recognize that this is an astronaut. I mean, the same here. Just, I don't know what it is, if it's like the backpack, but it's kind of in very abstract form. And I mean, it's again also connected to the topic of playfulness, of lightness, of optimism, but also about courage, because I think the world needs more astronauts, more people that trying to break limits or barriers, who are trying new things, who are also not scared to go into new territories, to kind of expand their own universe. And this is what I love about astronauts. And the other thing is that astronauts, they don't have a gender, they don't have a skin color, they don't have a body type, so everyone can be an astronaut. It can be you, it can be me. So everyone can be an astronaut, and this is what I really, really love about astronauts as a projection, as an object, as a person in my artworks. And with one artwork, I was painting like a universe, and I had a couple of astronauts, and my first idea was that we had kind of an explosion and the astronauts were kind of blown away. And then I realized when I was drawing these astronauts that even if there was this explosion, it still felt like they were kind of dancing in space. Because they were just kind of floating around and they had this happiness. So I realized even with the explosion on the artwork, it feels that they're like super happy. So I also decided to then get rid of the explosion. And this was also kind of interesting for me to see, and also to recognize that whatever happens, the astronaut will still be floating in space and will be happy. And that's why animals are kind of my lucky charm, lucky animal. So I see some new guys here. Hello, hello. If you have any question, you can just use the question box to me. I'm an artist from Hamburg, Germany. At the moment, I'm really, really sweating, and I'm on a semi-tight schedule because I'm going to a vernissage later. So yeah. Is there anything else you want to know? Let's have some color. If not, I would just say bye-bye and see you soon. So where can I turn this off? Where can I turn this off?